Hello, wild ones. We are going to talk about a new stitch. This is called the couching stitch. I wanted to show you an application of it first, and I'll show you how to do it. That's probably the best way to do it. This is my quilt called She Made the Sky. I love the buttons as part of this quilt. But all of these ribbons down here and tails are couch stitched on. So the piece is laid on top and then this is woven around it, embroidered around it. So I'm going to show you that on a smaller piece. I'm going to work with a bigger piece of couch to embroidery floss. So this is a piece of yarn. And I'm just going to take this blue embroidery floss. I already have everything with a needle on it. I'm not going to put this back through. I'm going to kind of leave that as a tassel. So pretty much for a piece this thick, I'm going to pull this over a little bit so I can see where this stitch is. And I'm just going to go straight back through. And for this first one, I'm really going to make sure I hold that end. And I'm probably going to add, so there's your little couch stitch. And I think I'll add one more stitch directly on top of that stitch so that I know that this end is really firmly in place. I kind of caught the end of that tassel, so I'm just gonna hold that down with my holding finger or hand, and then the hard part about the stitch is you're managing two tails. So now I'm gonna go all the way up this side with this stitch. It's really quite easy. That's the biggest drawback, is if you split your yarn or your whatever you're stitching on. It could be ribbon or strips of fabric, other embroidery floss. I saw someone do wire once. It's kind of up to you. When I couch stitch, I kind of let the thickness of the material determine how far out I'm gonna go, but I feel pretty confident that this yarn isn't gonna split or find its way caught on something, being this small of a sample and this tight of a yarn. So I'm gonna let it be about a 1/4 inch in between stitches. You can also make them all even, or you could do like a interesting close together and far apart. I always think of like SOS or Braille, and how sometimes things are really tight together and far apart. And I love the like tactile feel of anything hand sewn. So kind of like that, kind of like the long spaces and then 3 really close together. Now I'm coming up on my clip. I'm gonna move my clip to here. I think I'm just gonna follow. I think the thought is to go all the way around to the center. That looks pretty cool. I think that's what I'll do. So you could couch wire, you could couch almost anything, but it's just an up and over stitch. Pretty fun to do. I will come back when I've gone all the way around, unless maybe I'll show you this turn. So when I'm turning it, I'm just gonna kind of put a slight bend and hold that. Any shape you're holding with your thumb or your holding hand, you can kind of work your way around. I think it would be hard to do like a perfect square, but anything kind of slightly organic is pretty easy to achieve. You could achieve a wiggle too if you want, like a back and forth kind of couch. This is a good way to strengthen an area of your clothing as well. If you have a cuff that's really beat up, putting a couched, stronger piece of fabric or ribbon, like a grosgrain ribbon on it, or a bag, like top surround of a bag. If you add something where it's just there for strength, couching is a good way to do that. Plus, you can do it pretty easily to clothes that are already made. There's around the circle. I love this yarn that it changes color and shade as I go. Okay, I'm almost to the end. I did couching all the way around, went around again. Now this is my last tail and I have to figure out where I'm gonna end it. I just added a knot to where I'm gonna end it, so I'm just gonna do that again, or where I started it. So I'm just pulling it through, and then to figure out where I want the knot, you can actually grab, you can put your needle down exactly where you want it. Even though this needle is for the other thing, you're not gonna go all the way through. Just poke it in like that, and then pull your knot against your needle, and it'll put the knot right where you want. I wanna make that knot a little bit tighter, so I'm just gonna pull a little harder. And now let's couch the end of this. So I'm going in on, out on one side, in on the other, making sure I scoot the yarn over so I don't catch it, but instead I just pull it tight. I'm going to do the next one. I'm just sliding my needle up, so I'm going directly across the yarn. You could do diagonal couches, but I find straight across, even because we aren't perfect, you're gonna go diagonal-ish probably in some of them, but I find the vertical stitches look the coolest. And you don't have to stay right on top. Some people couch where they're leaving, I'll actually do this. I'm gonna do a tight one. Nope, I'm gonna use that one I just did as my tight one. Now I'm gonna do a loose one, where I'm gonna come in really close to the yellow and then go all the way across to the orange. And see how that's a much wider stitch. Now maybe I'll do 3 of those, kind of to mimic those 3 close ones we did before. So wide, wide, one more wide. Okay, I think one more really tight to that knot just to finish it off. And I'm going to show you finishing it up with knots. So there it is. So let's grab a pair of scissors and cut off that long tail so you can see the finished. I'm going to go up to the end of this knot and just trim off a little bit extra so it kind of forms like a little tassel. And I still have this leader line. This is what the back looks like. I always think those look kind of cool too. That's just a piece of fluff. Maybe not. There we go. And then I'm gonna, to finish this, I'm just gonna go underneath one of my previous stitches, grab a little bit of the back, go through, pull out my tail thread, but keep a little loop that looks like that, and just put my needle through the loop and pull it tight. That's a knot. And then instead of cutting it off right there, I'm just gonna put it back into the backer. I'm kind of trying to weave or just put my needle in between the 2 layers and go a little bit farther. I call this burying the thread. Now I can pull tight while I'm doing it, bend my fabric back a little bit, trim it, and now pull out a little bit, and that will just pop back in and be buried. So there is our finished couch stitch sampler. This little pillow was inspired by Tisha Moore. Her video on her journal, fabric journal covers is on Tracy Moore's YouTube channel. I absolutely love this stitch.